Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Special Events Advisory Committee meeting for Wednesday, May 11th, 2022. My name is Paul Russell and I represent Lower Sackville. It is currently 9:35 in the morning. I'd like to start by acknowledging that the Halifax Regional Municipality is located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded lands of the Mi'kmaq people. The municipality acknowledges the peace and friendship treaties signed in this territory and recognizes that we are all treaty people. And as is standard with these virtual meetings, I'd like to go around the table and just make sure that everybody's audio and video are working, although based on the conversation before we went live, it would seem that everybody's is. Councillor Mancini sends his regrets. Councillor Morse, good morning.
Well, good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, participants. It's exciting to see all the special events planned this year. We're finally seeing them happen.
It really is. Thank you. Tim Rosesco, good morning.
Good morning. It's good to see everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you. Mark Shea is not with us yet. Ross Jefferson is not with us yet. Allison Gillen, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Pleasure to join you for this conversation.
Super. Thank you. Gordon Stewart, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and fellow committee members.
Good morning. And Todd Brayman is also not with us yet. And staff members, we have Elizabeth Taylor. Good morning. There you are.
Good morning, Chair and committee members.
And your audio is a little shaky this morning. Sherry Dillman, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. Is my audio okay today?
It is better than Elizabeth's, but also just a little bit shaky. Yep. And
I'm going to keep my camera off because does that make a difference, Chair?
it would,
does.
yes. Yep.
Okay, thank you. I'll keep it off. Thank you so much.
Super, thank you. And Andrea Lavasi Wood from the clerk's office, good morning.
Good morning, Chair Russell and committee members.
Good morning. And we have Eric Bodridge also joining us from the clerk's office. Here we are. Good morning. And
good morning, everyone.
Super. So we are all here, which is great. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of March 9th, 2022. Can I have a motion to approve those minutes, please?
So moved.
From Gordon and a seconder.
Second.
Second from Councillor Morse. Are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all in favor of the minutes of March 9th, 2022, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say nay. Great, those minutes pass. Approval of the order of business and approval of additions and deletions. Over to the clerk.
Chair Russell, I can confirm that there are no additions or deletions to the agenda from the clerk's office.
Super, thank you very much. Can I have a motion to approve the order of business as presented? Thank you, Tim. A seconder, please. Allison, thank you very much. Are there any changes from the committee? Not seeing any. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say nay. Great, thank you very much. Is there any business arising from the minutes? Not seeing any. Call for declaration of conflict of interest. And not seeing any. Consideration of deferred business is none. Correspondence, petitions, and presentations. Do we have any correspondence for this meeting?
Chair Russell, there's no correspondence or petitions for this meeting from the clerk's office.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrea. Do we have any petitions from the members of the committee? Not seeing any. We don't have any presentations, no information items brought forward. So we're on to item 9.1.1, the Marketing Levy Special Events Reserve Grant Report of 2022. There is no PowerPoint presentation for this, but we do have Elizabeth Taylor, the Manager of Culture and Events, and Sherry Dillman, the Civic Event Coordinator, to respond to any questions. Can I have someone put the motion on the floor first, please? Go
So
ahead,
moved.
Gordon. Would you mind reading the motion? I can put that in the Zoom chat if that would help.
That would help me greatly.
Okay. There you go. That is interesting. It seems to have munged. Yeah, no, I was just having a look at the numbers and it is accurate. So that is the motion that we have.
That the Special Events Advisory Committee recommend Halifax Regional Council approve the total funding in the amount of $1,134,500 from the County Events Reserve Q621 as proposed in the following categories of the staff report dated March 18th, 2022. 3 distinguished 12 signatures, 1 major hosting events for a total of $731,500 as identified in Table 1. 1 new emergency events grant previously approved for a total of $13,000 as identified in Table 2. 1 distinguished 3 major housing events previously approved for a total of $390,000 as identified in Table 3. Pending the final approval of the 2023/2024 budget, approved $766,500 is identified in Table 4 of the staff report dated March 18th, 2022. And 3, pending final approval of the 2024/2025 budget, approved $616,500 as identified in Table 5 of the staff report dated March 18, 2022.
Thank you very much, Gordon. Do we have a seconder for that?
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Morse. Elizabeth, would you be able to speak to that for a few minutes and just provide an overview before we go to questions?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and committee members. Good morning. I'm delighted to present to you finally, after a 2-year hiatus, a in-person events report that will hopefully bring much animation and joy to communities and visitors in our region. I'd just like to mention for the COVID recovery event grant program that we ran last year as a separate program, we had 5 MILSR clients that took advantage of that program. They were Buskers, Comedy Fest, the Atlantic Film Festival, Pride, and Blue Nose. I'd also like to draw your attention to the fact that the Downtown Dartmouth Ice Festival, which I must congratulate Tim on this past year or this past winter, was a huge success, and you will not see that event in this program any longer. It has been redirected to the Regional Special Events Program, whereby it receives funding on a 3-year basis and has, I think, achieved great success for a majority of locals who have wanted something to do in a shoulder season, winter time. So congratulations on that event. What you would notice in the report in front of you is there are a few changes, one being the program allocation that we set with SEAC. Now, to be clear, it is not a directive in the administrative order. However, in 2007, members of SEAC asked us to allocate a certain amount of the annual budget from the marketing levy to particular programs. And the signature event program, which is our annual event program, was had $500,000 assigned to it or allocated to it. This year, due to higher costs, supply issues, the reduction in volunteers, the increase in hiring, we have increased that from $500,000 to $650,000 in order to be able to provide for and sustain our annual events, which will surely bring visitors and animation to our region. You will see a formula for our funding should we have another COVID variant or for any other health reasons have to stop in-person events. We will offer 100% to our clients who are going to conduct in-person events or in person with a hybrid model, which would be an inclusion of some virtual component. We will give 50% of the grant amount to events who cannot do their event in person due to health concerns, but will provide an online event due to COVID. And 25% of the grant amount will be offered to events whose preference is to stay online, even though they could go in person. I would like to draw your attention to the fact that after the Women's World event was canceled, the International Hockey Federation returned $240,000, which had been our 80% payment, which is why we have a better than projected balance for this year. That was a huge help for us, particularly in seeing the increased costs. Obviously, our maximum grant awards for the signature, they are 100,000. You will see some of the events have asked for 250,000. It is certainly not that we don't think that that's what they're worth. It's simply that in our signature category, we cannot fund any higher than 100,000. I'm going to hopefully in the next couple of meetings be going over the AO and the terms and taking some discussion about whether or not these grant awards should be changed given inflation and the cost of everything. You will note that again, SEAC had requested that we do an annual reservation of a lump sum to put in a reserve within a reserve that would build up a war chest, if you will, to be able to go after major hosting opportunities. During COVID, we reduced that number from 400,000 to 200,000. And this year, in order to be able to fund the events, and also we had a large major request from the ECMAs, we have reduced that to 100,000. So our spend for this year, if the report is approved, is $1,134,500. That will leave us with a balance of $100,000 with the hotel levy monies coming in each month. So we expect with a busy summer that we'll have a healthy balance going forward. So I'm happy to take any questions. Sherry and I are here on any items.
Okay. Thank you very much, Elizabeth, for that. Go ahead, Councillor Morris.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Maybe I missed this in the report, but we have the World Hockey event now, and how is that going to impact us, if it will? Seems like it's a pretty massive event that came in a bit late.
Through you, Chair, to the councillor, it is. It's a very expensive event and wonderful for the city. That went to an in-camera report to council, and there is no funding source that I'm able to share at this time, but it would clearly be difficult to fund it from the MILSR as it stands now.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you.
Okay.
If I could add to that, Councillor, I didn't want to give you the indication that we wouldn't fund it, but there are other funding sources within the municipal budget that would be open for discussion with the Director of Finance and the CAO and Council.
Okay, thank you. That's great. I guess what I meant by it coming in late, it came in after you completed your report, I think, so it couldn't have been considered in this roster of events.
according to my discussions with the deputy CAO, it was never going to be considered for this particular funding cycle.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
Thank you very much, Councillor Morse. Go ahead, Gordon.
Elizabeth, I have one question just around the percentage and breakdown of proportion. And the one I'm interested in just hearing a little bit of feedback on is the 25% of the grant to organizations that go online, but not necessarily participating in person, even if they could. Is there any value of even having that category at all?
It's through you, Chair, to the committee member, Gordon. That's a very good point. You know, it hasn't been something that we've come across as yet, but I do take your point that really we are about in-person events, and we are about providing in-person funding for in-person events. So if the committee would feel that really they should receive no funding if they choose to stay online, I mean, we can certainly make an amendment to that. Or that is also something operationally that I can take away, and we simply can, you know, make a note on the agreements. The one positive about this process is that we do the event agreements with each of the clients, so that would be broken down. So that would be very simple to remove should the community or the committee wishes to do so.
Gordon, does that address your concern?
Yeah, I think just as a follow-up, I think the real value of these are events that take place that really generate all the external revenue around. So accommodations, rooms, buying meals, gifts from gift shops, travel, all these things that are impact our city overall are really meant to be in-person events. And there's such a demand for those kinds of dollars that I don't see the real value in trying to even put a small portion towards online events, because there is no external value really coming from most of those. There may be a little bit in terms of some organizational stuff, but that would be it overall. So that would be my final point. But I'm happy to hear that if they go back and take a look at it and review it, that's fine for me.
Thank you. I completely agree with you on that point, that is why we are investing in these events, for the knock-on effect to the businesses within the city. So I'll make sure that is removed from the actual agreements.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Gordon. I don't see any further comments in the chat or others requesting to speak. So I if you don't mind, I will speak from the chair. I would agree with Gordon. We have been in a state where we have been doing what we could to make sure that things move forward, virtual or in any way possible. And at this point, we are adapting back to more in-person events. We have a number of things happening here in Lower Sackville around Canada Day, and we're getting back to in-person events. So seeing that be supported through this would certainly be favorable. This year, sure, they're already here. They have already applied. Next year, I would hope that they would see the benefit in having an in-person event, or that they would be able to do their own fundraising if it is not an in-person event. So those are my comments. Not seeing any further comments. Are we ready for the question?
Question?
The question has been called. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. That motion passes. There are no added items. I believe there was some confusion about the date or some uncertainty about the date of the next meeting. Andrea, would you be able to speak to that?
Yes, my apologies for that, Chair Russell. The date of the next meeting is June 8th. 2022. So I will leave it to you to to finish off the rest of the meeting.
Great. Thank you very much, Andrea. June 8th, 2022. That would be fantastic. The final item on the agenda is adjournment. So could I have a motion to adjourn, please?
I so move.
Great. Thank you very much, Councillor Morse. I hope everyone